Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be making an enclosure for our very first Ceratopsian, the Pachyrhinosaurus, as requested by Tomazilla. Thank you for your comment, Tomazilla. Ask and you shall receive. So this is the first skin you can see for the Pachyrhinosaurus. You certainly wouldn't want to be charged by this animal. It is absolutely huge. And this skin, the middle one, is the biggest one. You could see the human shrink there. And there's the female. You can see the female, I think, is a little bit smaller. And I do love the detail and the patterns on the skin of this creature. Absolutely beautiful animal. But this has to be my favourite, the woolly one, the feathered one, should I say. Very beautiful design. We don't know if they did have feathers, but I think it's just very unique and it's something different. And what I like most is, you can see there when I change it to the male, look at that lovely orange crest with the black stripes and a bit of white as well around the edge. I do like that. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So I think we're going to go for this skin. And we're going to have a big herd of Pachyrhinosaur. We're going to have 2 males and we'll have 10 females. A nice big herd of them. So without further ado, let's get to it and build them an enclosure. So here we go. I've gone on a scrubland map in Spain, just because I think the backdrop is a bit better. We have a lot of mountains, and it suits the kind of environment that we're going to build. So I've just put the dinosaurs in there, as I normally do, just to get an idea of the sense of scale, rather than just building and then finding out that it's too small or too large. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a nice frozen lake in for these creatures. A nice big lake, and just putting down some gravel there, a bit of grass. And then what I'll do is I'll go over the snow later. So yeah, so what I've done is I've got 2 males and I think it's 10 females. Oh, and here, before I go on to that, I'm just putting some glass there, some shattered glass, extended it really big and then put it over the lake so it looks like broken bits of ice, like the ice is just starting to form or it's cracked. So nice little effect there, nice little, just have to get a bit creative and experiment with things. Putting in some rocks here with the trees. But yes, as I was saying, so we've got 2 males and 10 females. And the reason I've done this is because when you look at stags and things like rams and stuff, there'll be 1 male with like a herd of females. But the reason I put in another male is just so they can have a bit of competition. So they'll behave a bit more like they would in the wild and actually compete with each other for females. And I think it's a bit better to do that because they'll behave, it brings out natural behaviours, and it also gives them something to do, a bit more stimulation in their exhibit. And because we've got 12 individuals in this exhibit, we are going to have to make this one quite large. So this exhibit is a big one. And it's probably one of the most challenging ones I've done at the moment. It did take quite a lot to get it right, but in the end I am quite pleased with the result. So yeah, what I want to do here is I want to have a river curving around the bend here that's going to have a waterfall pouring down, and we're going to have all these boulders that have cascaded down and fell off the cliffs at the side. You can see I've just put a log in there that may have fell down, a tree's collapsed into the river. And just trying to blend it in. Try not make the rocks look too similar, just shaping them and morphing them to look like they suit the environment that they're in. Lovely. So, what do you think? Do you think that Pachyrhinosaurus could have had feathers, or do you think it would have been scaly? Now, this is what I was thinking about this, why it might have had feathers. You can see there's 3 different species there when you go on the species viewer. Now, obviously, there would have been different species in different areas and they would have adapted to different environments. So, what I was thinking is maybe the ones that had feathers were living further north. Now, if they were living further north, it would have been colder, which means obviously you have to have feathers to keep yourself warm. But also, when you click on the feathered Pachyrhinosaurus, you notice that the size, it goes a lot smaller. Now, up in northern hemispheres, the plants, obviously they're not getting as much sunlight from the sun because of the angle of the earth. So maybe many of the plants weren't getting a lot of sunlight, so there might have not been many plants, or maybe the plants weren't very nutritious, so the animals up there may not have been able to grow so big. So maybe that's why they shrank a little bit. This species is a bit smaller, and if you're smaller, you can't retain all that body heat, which means you have to adapt in a different way, which could mean you have to get feathers to keep the insulation in. That's just a theory. To be honest, this animal really does remind me of a prehistoric muskox. It just looks like one of them when I look at it with this shaggy coat on that it's got. But I do think it's a very interesting take. But yeah, I mean, it's like with T-Rex. A lot of people thought the Tyrannosaurus Rex would have had feathers because many of its cousins had feathers. But when you think about it, it's so big, it would have probably kept its heat inside and not lost a lot of heat because it's such a massive body. Very much like elephants today. You know, elephants, they don't need much fur because their bodies are so huge that they actually need to cool down. They don't want to actually keep the heat in. That's why they have such big ears, to get rid of their the heat off their body, so the blood flow, as it flows through the thin skin, they can lose some heat, and they just fan their ears to get rid of them. And then obviously you've got the mammoths that are close cousins. They adapted for the cold instead. Their ears have gone small and their bodies have gone very woolly. So it's quite possible that Pachyrhinosaurus did have these feathers. I think there are some ceratopsians that have quills, so then it's not a complete woolly coat like this, but they do have quills coming off the tail and I think off the back as well. And I think actually in Prehistoric Planet, the Pachyrhinosaur in the Frozen Worlds episode, I'm sure they had like quills, spiky quills coming off the tail. Yeah, so. Oh, and here what we're going to do is we're going to make some little igloos for the guests to stay overnight. So it's not just an enclosure, it's more like a little resort. So what I'm going to do here is the front of the igloo is going to be, all I've done there is just use a roof with slates and turn it white, so it looks like icy bricks that they use, and the back is going to be this glass dome that you can just get a good view of the beautiful mountains, the snow, the frozen lake, and the Pachyrhinosaur herd. So you get to wake up in the morning, maybe with a Pachyrhinosaur just staring at you through the glass, or the herd just walking past the frozen lake. You can just sit in your bed and relax. So I'm just putting that bed in now. I've just used a wall that I put down and 2 snow. I think it's like a pile of snow there, just squashed together to make it look like a little pillow. Put a throw over the bed, and at the back there where I've put that quarter circle in, behind there, that's where the ensuite is going to go. So yeah, just putting in trying to make these look like the sheets, so the covers over there. It was a little bit difficult to do this, but in the end I think it looks rather nice, and I think it's you know, I wouldn't mind staying in this myself. I'd love to wake up in the morning to dinosaurs just passing by my bedroom. So yeah, very nice. And we've used a bench there just as like a headrest for the bed. Lovely. So we just need to put in maybe some supports for the bed. Lovely stuff. And that is coming on nicely. Just plump up those pillows a little bit. And I think I was struggling to click on the pillow there. I was just testing out another one there, seeing if that looked better as a pillow, but no, I think these ones are quite nice enough. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a few of these, a few little igloos dotted around the lake that the guests can stay in. And here I'm just putting a nice little night light in that's going to go on this bedside table. Lovely. I was going to put some drawers in, but then I thought actually it looks better just as a little table like that. What we'll do is in the corner of the room we'll put in a nice little wardrobe. So just corner off the bathroom there and put in a door. So we're not going to build the bathroom, we can just pretend that it's behind that wall, and then put in another door here to getting outside. Now this is quite difficult because the shape of the wall here, because it curves, it was quite hard to make this look right. It took some adjusting, but eventually we get the hang of it. And now we're just putting in a nice little table, just getting a picnic table in there for some size reference, and then this little curve here, this arch, is going to be the part of the doorway going into the igloo, like you would see on a normal igloo. So I'm just trying to line that up, and then yes, this was quite difficult to do, trying to get the angle right. And now what I've got to do is once I put that piece in, I've got to get two semicircles on either side of the door, so that it doesn't just look like it's not going into anywhere. So I've got to try and put that in there. There we go. That looks better. And now these two pieces we're just going to straighten up there to make it look a bit tidy, the edges. There we go. Nice. Lovely. And all that's left now is to put down some flooring and nice little wardrobe at the side. So I was just trying to think what we could put in, and I just thought we'll just put in a path like that. We don't want anything too bright. So I think that looks quite nice. And now we're just making a chair for you to sit by your table. And what I shouldn't have done is use the flooring. Every time I use the flooring, it would make the actual floor below it come shooting up. So that's why I've just gone to a wall there, because the wall is a lot easier to use rather than the floor just shooting up to that level. Yeah, so just put the legs on, put a nice backrest on. Lovely. Nice little chair, we can just sit by your desk and just watch the dinosaurs go by. Lovely stuff. So, and then with a nice little bin for you to put your rubbish away. And here is the wardrobe we're going to fit in. So put that nice curve bit that'll curve to the curve of the curve to the curve of the igloo. And now we're just going to put this. That looks kind of like a wardrobe. You can imagine that's like a sliding wardrobe there, where your clothes can go. And then we just finish off the top bit so that it doesn't look like it. There's just a hole there with another curved piece of wood. Lovely. So there you have it, the igloo, where you can stay in the Pachyrhino Resort. So what we're going to do now is just put some paths leading you to your igloos, and we need to put some fencing as well. Now with the fencing, I couldn't decide what to use. I put these ones in, and then later on I changed my mind because I thought with that massive, it's not really a horn, is it? It's like a big lump of, it's like a flat horn, isn't it? But yeah, I think that would make short work of those wooden panels put together. I think it would just snap those with one charge. So later on I go in and I put in some stone walls instead, with a little bit of wood on top of it. Now here we are at the rope bridge crossing. So this is where you can get up in the morning from your igloos and you can go on a nice little walk, and this walk is going to take you up nice and high into the mountains, and then you can cross over the river to the other side of the canyon, with the waterfall on your right, the river down below you, and then over to your left, the valley with the frozen lake and the Pachyrhinosaurus. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to put some nice ropes in, 2 log posts for support, and then this pre-made wood panels all together, and they're going to be the floor, and then we'll put some rope supports coming off that, just to make it look a bit more sturdy. We want guests to trust this. We don't want them to be terrified and walk back, but we just want it to look a bit more of a theme. There are already bridges in the game, but I thought a nice rope bridge I think would suit this type of habitat. It'll make it look a bit more, interesting. So we're just trying to put that in now. It was quite difficult to build, but I think the way it looks at the end was worth it in the end. I'm just trying to get the paneling here to curve at the right, because that rope is slightly curved, so I'm just trying to make sure that it all lines up right. So yeah, the idea is that the guests are going to climb up, go through on a walk, cross this bridge, and then they're going to continue their journey to a little lodge. And you can see I've put those ropes in below it. I've just copied the ones above and put them down, so now I can line it up a little bit better. Yeah, just lining up with the rope, and then we're going to put some little supports in. Just be careful that you don't drop your phone through the gaps while you're taking a photo of the beautiful waterfall that's going to be put in a minute. Yes, if you drop your phone down there, you most certainly won't be getting it back, and you wouldn't want it back anyway because it's going to be in the water, so be careful not to drop your phone on the rope bridge, the rocky rope bridge. So yeah, anyway, let's get up some facts about this beautiful animal, the Pachyrhinosaurus. Now this animal was 6 meters long, half the size of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it weighed in at 1,800 kilograms, which is almost 2 tons. So it's a heavy beast. And this is very interesting. The horn of this creature, like I say, it's not really a horn. It's more like a flat piece of bone just stuck to the animal's nose. But scientists believe that there possibly could have been keratin, just like a rhinoceros' horn. The same things that hair is made out of, and our fingernails. So rhinos have this horn made out of that. So scientists believe that this animal possibly could have had a horn, but it was made out of keratin. So that's very interesting. Yeah, so maybe this animal did have a horn after all. This thick-nosed lizard, as its name means. Yes, maybe it did have a horn after all. And here what we're doing is we're going to put in a nice little lodge for the guests to come and rest and have a nice meal, have something to eat, have a drink, some refreshments after their walk up here. And what I'm doing is I'm just changing the texture of the walls here, just to make them look a bit more like a lodge. Some nice stonework there I think suits it a little bit better. And this is going to be a nice platform for the guests to I'm going to put some benches out on this, and it's also a nice little viewing area for them to look over the enclosure. So we're just putting some rocks underneath to make it look a bit more supported, and those rocks of course won't be getting any snow on them, only the ones that are sticking out, so I'm going to keep those ones grey. And we're just choosing what style of benches we want, and what I must remember to do, which I kept doing, and I must remember to do this in future, to exit the group. When you're building things and you're in a group on this game, then you can copy that whole group across. So like I'm doing this wall here now, I'm going to copy it, and then just, rather than having to keep building loads of logs on top of each other. But what I've forgotten is that I'm still in the group with the tables, so when I copy this, all those tables are going to be stuck with the log. So I must remember to exit. You can see there I've had all those tables together, so I must remember to exit the group and start a new group. But I'm getting a bit more used to it now, and yeah, it's looking good, this little cabin. And what I'm going to do next, just put in, I think I'll leave a little window here, just a little bit of lighting so it's not too dark and dingy inside. I'm going to change the top of the roof, so it's not well, it's going to be thatched, but it's going to be white, so it looks like there's a blanket of snow over it, or some frost. So lovely. Oh yes, I'm going to do that now. There we go. So that'll suit the environment a lot better now. And there we go, finished. And now we're going to put in some railings so the guests don't fall off into the enclosure with the animals. Just curve that round nicely. Beautiful. And they can have a nice view here while eating their lunch of the beautiful landscape below, whilst the animals just walk on by. And speaking of lunch, let's talk a little bit about the diet of this dinosaur. In fact, all Ceratopsians, because they were all equipped with a very powerful, large, sharp beak. You certainly would not want to get pecked by that beak, I tell you now. And at the back of the mouth, they have rows, at the back of the jaw, they have rows of grinding teeth. So they're perfectly adapted for dealing with very tough and woody vegetation. You can imagine they could snap branches off with these beaks and then grind them at the back of the mouth. Eating foods like cycads and palms, things like that, that maybe other animals didn't want to deal with, so their niche was dealing with foods that were very tough, that other animals may have stayed away from. But some people have been talking about the possibility that this dinosaur, in fact, could have been an omnivore. So they didn't just eat plants, they could have possibly indulged in a bit of meat sometimes. Now, I know we all think of Ceratopsians being, strictly vegetarian. We think, what, eating meat? Surely not. But when you think about it, look at that beak and look at the teeth at the back. This may have been good for grinding up flesh afterwards, but the beak itself would be very good at chomping through flesh. So possibly this animal may have it could have eaten some meat sometimes as it's wandering, foraging through the shrubs low down. If it came across something maybe just a small animal like a lizard or a snake or something like that. It could have just killed it with one bite and then just gobbled it up. But it might sound surprising, but there is actually footage. I've seen one video of a deer eating the grass, and I think it was a bird. I'm sure it's a bird that's just walking past, and the deer eats the bird. And it's quite surprising. Everyone's like, why is it doing that? But it makes sense in a way, because it's, you know, this bird didn't have any defences. I'm sure it was a baby bird or something like that, and this deer's probably just thought, oh, a few extra calories, a bit of extra protein, I'll eat that up. So maybe ceratopsians did the same, and I'm sure I've seen something where there was elephants doing something similar, where there was nests of birds. Birds had made their nests in this tree, and the elephant was grabbing the nests along with loads of different vegetation and just eating it up. And you think in those eggs there'd be some extra protein and calcium as well with the shell, and the elephant just eats it all up. So you can imagine maybe these ceratopsids did come across some meat in their diet. And even another idea, you can think about the power of those beaks. Maybe they came across carcasses that predators had left, and they could crack the bones open with those powerful beaks, and then inside the bone they could maybe get to the bone marrow, very nutritious, and that would supplement their diet. Maybe if they're eating, you know, if plants were running low or whatever, you know, they're going through a drought or something, and plants were not growing as well, they could supplement their diet with things like this. So I think that's a very interesting thing. I've never thought of these animals being carnivorous, but when you look at what happens in the modern day world today, it's quite possible that they did. So yeah, very interesting. So yeah, just finishing off this top bit of the enclosure here, putting in a few trees, and I'm going to corner it off at the top there so they can't just wander out the exhibit with rocks, just to make it look a bit more natural rather than putting fencing in and stuff like that. So it looks like the exhibit naturally fades off into the hills, and at the back I'll put a bit of a mountain, some hills in the back, just so it blends off into the distance. But yeah, I'm liking the way it's looking so far. It's a pity there isn't a snow map on this game yet, because this was the only one I thought would suit it, just because of the mountains in the background. So it is hard to blend it out because the rest of the map is all green and this section is just snow, so it's hard to kind of blend it out. I'm just putting in some low shrubs there for them to feed off. Lovely. And then just trying to make it seem like there's a bit of where they would have walked there with a bit more grass, where it'd be trampled a bit more, where they've wandered up to the top. Lovely. And I'm sure these animals, they said they lived in higher latitudes, some of them, so you can kind of picture them a bit like rams or ibex climbing up here to feed on the vegetation at the top. Put a few berry plants in there as well. Nice, a bit of colour, a bit of variety to mix it up a little bit. I'll put a nice dead tree at the top, just in case they want to have a good scratch. A few broken bits of twigs on the floor there. And just smooth it all in. Lovely. So it's coming together. This is quite a big build actually. I think this is one of the biggest ones I've done so far. It's only now that I'm watching it back, I'm thinking, wow, yes, it is. I did put a lot into this build. And just finish off the other side of the bridge there. I had a little break from that bridge. I think sometimes when you're working on one section for so long, you can kind of get tunnel vision, and you don't really, you need a break from that section and go over to the other section and then come back to it later. So here I'm going to put in a little small cave. You're going to walk through this cave, and then here there's going to be a little platform to see the waterfall. That's not the waterfall there. I'm just putting that in just because it's I like the formation of the rocks. The waterfall is going to be in the middle, just in between these two sections. So we've just got to try and blend all this in and make it look as natural as we can. Lovely. Put in a few more Douglas firs. Another one of my favourite trees. Lovely. And I wonder if we will see the Pachyrhinosaurus make its return in the Prehistoric Planet 2. Because a lot of the dinosaurs in the trailer, you can see that they've made their return. So it'll be interesting to see if they do come back. I think it would be very good to see them come back. There definitely is the Nanukosaurs, I think they are, Nanukosaurs, which were hunting them. I think they're coming back. Oh no, they definitely are, yes, they were chasing some smaller dinosaurs across the icy plain. So we might be able to see the Pachyrhinosaurs make a return. And I do love that scene as well, that hunt scene in the snow. It reminded me of wolves chasing bison. It's brilliant. You can tell that's where they've got their ideas from, which I think is good, using nature as a guidance. But yeah, it was a brilliant hunting scene. I really, really enjoyed it. Just how they run out and form a wall, a circle with the young in the middle, and the adults encircle the young to protect them. And when they said this was a standoff that went on for many days, and imagine just waiting in the blizzard, thinking I better not make the wrong move here, best not make the first mistake, and the predators are just biding their time, waiting to see who, waiting for that opportunity, that one moment where they make a mistake and then strike. And of course at the end, the old bull that is tiring and is left behind gets attacked by them. Brilliant scene. So yeah, I'm looking very forward to Prehistoric Planet. I'm sure you all are as well. Not far away now, it's about 2 weeks away. Yes, very, very excited. Lots of new footage coming out and clips. One of the scenes with the two T-Rexes they look like they're both about to hunt something. I hope we do get to see the Tyrannosaurus Rex hunt. That would be amazing. Just the way they look, it reminded me of the way they were looking. It reminded me of like lions. They looked very intense and focused on something, as if they were about to pounce. I really do hope they were, because I'd like to see the T-Rex hunt. Because in Prehistoric Planet 1, the first one, we saw T-Rex eating the Triceratops. We saw the T-Rex mating. We saw them eating the dead turtle and swimming, of course. Fantastic. But I would really like to see in this one a Tyrannosaurus Rex hunting. I'd like to see what they're capable of, because as much as I like seeing them eat, I would much rather like to see them hunting down a Triceratops. But I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, they're not monsters, they are animals, and of course, yes, they are. But I mean, look at modern day animals. Just look at Africa. Lions, hyenas, leopards, all competing and fighting, hunting. These animals, when you think about how big they are compared to the modern day animals, what they would have been capable of, I mean, it's hard to imagine sometimes. You look at lions taking down wildebeest and buffalo, and then you think, God, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is so much larger, and Triceratops, which is huge, the size of an elephant, and these massive horns. Witnessing a battle go down like this would have just been absolutely extraordinary. I would have. It would be something to see the real thing. It would be absolutely amazing. So hopefully, yeah, we see a bit more hunting action. That's what I'd like to see. So yeah, the waterfall here is coming on. We've got the little platform here. I'm just trying to make this look natural, fitting in all the rocks. We've got a rock overload here just to make it look as realistic as it possibly can. What I'm going to do here is on the rocks there, I'm going to put in some railings just so the guests don't fall off into the waterfall. But I'm going to leave it so that they can actually walk on the rocks so far. A bit like you've seen, you can see I'm putting it in here now so they can walk up to this bit. I know it's not an actual path, but I think it just looks a bit more natural this way and a bit more unique rather than just a path coming round. They can actually climb up onto this rock area and get a nice photo of the waterfall. And we'll put a few benches just so you can sit back and enjoy the beautiful view and get yourself psyched up just before you cross the rope bridge to the lodge. And we'll just put another semicircle in there just to finish it up. And a few rocks in as well, a few more rocks. Put plenty of rocks in this game, in this build. Lovely. So yeah, it's getting there. We are getting there. We just need to polish everything up now and make it look as realistic as we can get it. And here we're just putting in some fencing just so the guests don't wander off the path and fall off the edge of the cliff. We certainly wouldn't want that happening now, would we? So yeah, we're putting that fencing so they don't wander where they're supposed to not go. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this dinosaur's skull. Because it's a very heavy skull. It's full of bones and horns and this huge frill, but in the middle of that frill on either side there are two holes. I'm sure these are called windows, and this is to make the head a lot lighter, because if there was solid bone there, it might struggle to keep its head off the ground. It'd be walking around with its head dragging along the floor. Tyrannosaurus has this, lots of holes in its head to compensate for some of the weight. In fact, Torosaurus, sorry. I think this has the largest head of any land animal, actually. That has two huge holes in its crest. Its massive crest is very large, but actually, a lot of it is just empty. That there would have just been skin there, or maybe flesh as well, or keratin. But yeah, there's two big holes through it. It's only Triceratops that actually has a solid bone frill, which is excellent protection from things like Tyrannosaurus Rex. When you think about it, if it's trying to bite a very vulnerable area, the back of the neck of the animal, it is protected by that frill, and the frill is spiky as well, so not only is it protected, but if you do go for a bite, you might get scraped by that spiky frill. And if that's not enough, it's got huge horns, so it's a formidable opponent for a tyrannosaur. In fact, I stand corrected, the largest skull of any land animal is actually a Pentaceratops. I thought it was Torosaurus. Yeah, the Torosaurus's measurements for its skull are actually a lot smaller than the Pentaceratops. 2.7 meters in length was the skull of Torosaurus, which is very big. You think that is, when you think of a human, I think a human is about 1.7 to 1.8 meters. This is over 2.5 meters in length. That's a huge head. Pentaceratops is 3.2 meters in height. Wow, that is a big head.
That's huge. That's incredible. My goodness. So these animals, you can just see there's loads of different species, loads of different variations. You know, they've adapted all over the world, just changing into different morphs, and you know, all from just evolution. And we see that loads of them have loads of different variations. Some with huge hollow crests, some with solid crests, some with horns, some without horns, just like the Pachyrhinosaur, unless it did have, you know, the keratin that's growing off that bony nose. But yeah, it is amazing just how evolution works. You get loads of different variations. It would have been interesting to see how these animals would have kept evolving if they'd have had the time. If you think, if that comet hadn't missed, what would they have looked like today? Because they would have kept evolving, they wouldn't have just stopped, and they would have had 65 million years to continue evolving. And that would have been really interesting to see where they would have gone. Because you think, when dinosaurs first started appearing in the Triassic period, they weren't much to look at. They were just small, you know, not very big and dangerous like they are at the end of the Cretaceous period. It would be interesting to see how they would have continued going, because I imagine Tyrannosaurus Rex would have just got even. It would have just been, I think it would have just been a much more exaggerated Tyrannosaurus Rex. Its arms probably would have got smaller, so maybe that would be something that's not so amazing, but it probably would have grown in size. Its bite force may have got even more powerful, and this animal was around then, the Pachyrhinosaur, so this creature would have kept evolving too. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Oh, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little docking viewing gallery just for the guests to walk into the exhibit a bit more, just to immerse them a bit more. I like putting the guests into the exhibit rather than just looking into it. I want to get them, you know, in there and really get a good close-up view. So they're going to be able to walk out on the frozen lake, and well, partially frozen lake, and get a nice view of the I was going to call them Taurosaurus then, the Pachyrhinosaurs. So yeah, we'll just put some railings on, a few benches to have a rest and just sit by the docks, a few binoculars to get a nice view. We'll fit in the path here. Lovely. So it's all coming together now. We've got the igloos over there on the left. They'll come round for a path here, and that path will then connect up to a walk that's going to go up to that cave and then cross over the bridge. And along the way here, from the dock to the cave, I want to put in some kind of shelter for them, because I think they might get a little bit cold. I think it might be nice just to give them a little bit of luxury while they sleep, somewhere to get warm and all huddle together for some warmth. And I think I'm going to put in some kind of like stable in this one. Normally I try and put in a more natural looking shelter, but I think with this one I'm going to go for something like a stable, because rather than a cave, I think the cave is just gonna, we've got enough rocks and caves, so I want to do something a little bit more different. And here I'm just putting in like a little bit of a slither where the river's not fully going, you know, so it's going around the side of the, you know, a little bit of land, a slither of land that the river's just quite not getting to, just to try and make it look a little bit more natural. And here we're going to have a bit of a forest that you have to walk through to get to your little igloos that you'll be staying in. Your home for the weekend, however long you wish to stay. Or maybe a week, maybe you need a nice long break with the Pachyrhinosaurs. Let all your worries disappear. Oh, and here I'm just testing out some shops. I wasn't sure what to put in here, but I don't think the shops, the style of them, suit this kind of habitat, I don't think. So I think we'll leave the shop for now. and we'll just make that forest a bit more dense. Put in a few rocks. Some more rocks, because if it's all too rock heavy on one side, it might not suit, or it won't be feng shuied as well. So I'm just going to put some rocks there. And here are the igloos. Now what I need to do here is I need to make sure that there is privacy, because the last thing I want is that you're in your igloo and everybody else in their igloo can just stare into your igloo and see you. You want a bit of privacy, so what I've got to do is try and put the trees around, blocking the glass, and we won't just use trees, we will use some rocks as well to do that. But the trick is, I don't want to block the view of the exhibit. I don't want you to just stare out of those dome windows and all you see is trees or rocks. We do want you to see the enclosure, and we do of course want you to see, most importantly, the animals that are inhabiting it. So we've got to be careful. So what I do is I just look at the view inside the igloo, check if they can see any of the other igloos, and if they can't, then I'm happy, and we just have to check that all of them have some privacy. So here I'm just going to put this rock in between these two, so they obviously aren't just looking to the left of them or the right of them and going, oh, hello neighbours, did you sleep well? No, we want them to wake up, and the only thing that should be looking through the glass at them is the Pachyrhinosaurs themselves, which I think is quite a nice, pleasant way to wake up to some Pachyrhinosaurs, just wandering past your bedroom. This fence as well, I do need to change that fence later on. I do go back with a stone one. I think they'd just smash through that, to be honest. I think we would have Pachyrhinosaurs roaming all over the place if we did that. But don't worry about the glass. The glass is reinforced glass. They will not be able to smash the glass, I assure you. We've spared no expense with this glass. We've got the best glass going to make sure that no accidents will happen. Talking of accidents, I do apologise. Some of the footage that I was filming was lost because halfway through building this enclosure, I can't remember if it happened at this point or if it's later on, we lost power. It was in the middle of the game and it just cut off. So yeah, it's a good job that we don't actually run a dinosaur park and we lost power, because that would have been an absolute disaster and far worse than just losing some footage on the game. So yeah, I lost the footage of the build of the video I was doing, and I did have to go back and start building things that I'd already done. So yeah, a bit of a pain, but yeah, it can't be helped sometimes. And here I'm just going to have the exit of the lake. This is where the water's going to drain out, a nice little stream and a little bridge for you to cross over to the other side of the other igloos that we have here, because we have, I think it's 5 of them. Maybe we should have a few more, but I don't want it to be too, I don't know, too crammed or too jam-packed full of igloos. Maybe we can, say, well, this is luxury. You're getting to stay with, Pachyrhinosaurs. So if you'd like to stay in this exhibit, we might have to put the prices up a little bit, or do we? We want everyone in the world to enjoy these animals. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have a coupon day or something. But oh dear, dear. But yeah. So this stream, we're just going to put some logs down here and some big boulders that have been swept down the stream, and this will be the end of the enclosure, a bit like what I did with the Dilophosaurus when the stream goes down to stop them from getting out. So this area here to be honest, we could. I don't think I did do it. No, I didn't. But it would be quite a good idea to actually put a bit of fencing underneath the bridge or something, maybe, or just make it the boulders a bit bigger so the Pachyrhinosaurus can actually walk down that section. But I think it's better than just putting a fence in, because it looks more natural rather than just fencing it off. So here are our two last igloos, and I'm just going to put this rock in here to try and stop the others from seeing it, enlarge that rock a bit so that the others can all see them, and a few trees just to block the view a bit more. Lovely. So there you go, the lovely little igloos to spend a few nights in with the dinosaurs. And this is a very large enclosure. In fact, you know what? We could probably have some other species in here sharing it with the Pachyrhinosaurs. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at what other animals we could have. I think some smaller ones. Obviously not some predators. We don't want you wake up in the morning to a bloodbath. But yeah, maybe some smaller creatures of some sort. Some smaller dinosaurs. I'm just trying to curve this off so when you look from the bridge you don't just see grassland, you actually see that it goes off somewhere else into the mountains. Lovely stuff. So yeah, it's coming on. Just put a few Douglas firs up there to make it all look nice. I just think they look lovely on top of those ledges of the rocks there. Beautiful. And I've just been looking at some of the dinosaurs that shared the habitat with these creatures. There's Troodon. Now I think they could be quite good because I think they're too big to be attacked by such a small creature. However, though, the Troodons, I'm sure they grew larger, the ones that lived in the poles, and possibly could actually hunt their babies, so maybe not Troodon actually after all. And they've got one of the biggest brains. In fact, I think they've got the biggest brain for the body size of any dinosaur, I think so. They're very intelligent, and they might be able to escape through, I know I changed the fences later on to the stone ones, but I think they might be able to figure out to get out. And there I was just doing a little experiment. I was going to see whether I could keep those fences in and block it off with some logs instead, or put that wired fence in, but I don't think it looked very nice. So eventually I did go with the stone fencing, and then just on the top, because I thought it could possibly just go up onto its back legs and put it, hang over the front, and it could peck someone, and we don't want that. So I've just put another fencing over the top, which I thought was good. And when you put it in, it puts like little metal attachments to it that the game's already put in, which I think that's a nice little bit of detail. Yeah, we certainly wouldn't want anyone getting their hands pecked by one of those beaks. I'm sure it's Nigel Marvin in, what was it? It wasn't Walking with Giants, the Giant Claw, when he's travelling across the desert trying to find the Therizinosaurus, and he comes across a herd of Protoceratops. I'm sure he says those beaks could snap an arm or a leg. Now that's a Protoceratops, and you think about it, that's one of the smaller ones of the Ceratopsian family. So if you were going to get nipped by one of these big guys, they might do some serious damage. So we do need to make sure that the guests can't. Yeah, you can see that I'm just getting rid of it all and putting in the stone fencing as well, and making it look a little bit tighter as well. Before it was all over the place, higgledy-piggledy. So we're just trying to make it look a bit more smoother here. But yeah. Oh, and other dinosaurs that I think could suit this exhibit, that could go with it, is possibly the Edmontosaurus. But I think I want to do a different kind of habitat for them, a different enclosure for when I build them, like maybe a big open grassland. Maybe I shouldn't say grassland because there was no grass around in these times, but maybe a big open valley. And I think, do you know what, I'd love to build something with a few dinosaurs, make like an ecosystem or something like that. You know, a bit of a safari where the guests can drive through and see multiple different species. Oh, so here we're just going to build the cave. So I've just used a little formation of rocks there with a hole in it, so it's a nice little window, so you just get a peek out before you come out of the entrance of the cave. We'll put the roof on. So there you have it, a bit of you know, beams there just to make it look a bit more supported, and then we're going to put this cave in here that's already in the game, and then just change the top to white so it looks like it's been snowed on, and just adjust, yeah, get rid of those windows at the back and the hay as well. Lovely. So the guests can come up here, creep through the cave, and then they're faced with a waterfall and the rocky bridge, the rocky road bridge, leading them towards the lodge. So you have to earn your food in this one as well. The guests, we like to keep our guests fit here, climbing up mountains to get to their food. And I've not even put a restaurant at the bottom, so they have to go up there to get to their food. Oh, we should really put a restaurant at the bottom. In fact, we should have put a restaurant opposite the little docking area. We should put one opposite there, so in case people don't want to walk up here. I mean, if you're afraid of heights, you know, you might not want to go across that bridge. So maybe it's better to give them the option. So yeah, I probably should put that in. But it's only now when I'm thinking, yeah. Oh, another little bench there to get a view from a different angle. And here I'm going to put some steps in, so you're not completely walking up the mountain to get up there. Part of it's going to be a bit of a rocky walkway up, and then the rest of it is too steep, so we're going to put in a nice little staircase for them to go up, and then they're greeted with a cave. Wonderful. Lovely. So we're coming close to finish now. It's all coming together. It's just blending in and making it all look right. And change the colour of those as well, because it actually had a greeny tinge to it. And then put the railings on here, just to make sure everyone is safe. We don't want anyone falling. We should put some warning signs as well, maybe slippery from the ice or the snow or the sleet. So I have to say, watch your step, don't slip on the staircase. And I think the other ones are green there, you can see a bit of a greeny tinge to it. I'll have to go over those and make sure that they're looking white. And then some log support beams to make sure it's all sturdy and that it doesn't just look like it's floating in midair. Aye. So that's looking rather nice now. And then here I'm just going to put this, flatten it all out and then smoothing it down so it goes nice and smooth, because you must make sure if you want to put paths down on an angle, it's got to be a certain angle. It's got to be smooth enough, otherwise it will just say invalid placement and you won't be able to put it down. So here I'm just bending it around a little bit, and we'll put some rocks in here so it kind of feels like you're walking up a mountain a little bit, but obviously we're not going to make you walk too much up a mountain. We're going to give you a bit of staircase here, a bit of help, because it's too steep, this section. Oh, and going back to Nigel Marvin, when he's crossing the desert in the Giant Claw, He does lure the Protoceratops away using I think it's a red person's top as a flag, almost like what they use for a bull. You know, they say a bull is attracted to the colour red. Now, if that's true, we would have to make sure that we give warning signs to the public not to wear red. Do not wear red coat, because you may aggravate the Pachyrhinosaurs. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but it is fun watching Nigel just waving a stick around with somebody's t-shirt on, trying to lure the Protoceratops away so they don't peck him. So yeah, we'd have to have warning signs around the enclosure. Do not wear red. Don't pack red in your suitcase if you want to keep your hands or your arms. So yeah, we're just finishing off here now, the stream, put a bit more boulders in, and just blend all this in nicely now. But it's nearly there, it's getting there. Just put some pebbles down, and here I want to put like a little bit of a bank, a little bit of a river bank, maybe where the river is, when it's higher, it's worn away some of the ground here. And now I'm just putting this clay, but I think it's a little bit too light. So I'm going to put this darker mud in. And then on the top I want the snow to look like it's, because if it was on the side the snow wouldn't have stuck to it. So the snow's just going to get on the top, falling down in a little bit in places. But just blending it in there nicely, and on the side there a bit more grass where they might have walked, the herd. And this is where I'm going to put a few dead trees there to have a nice scratch, and we're going to put in a nice little, some sticks that fell off it there as well. This is where the stable is going to go for the animals. As soon as I finished off this section, we just need to make this look all blended in now. Yes, I do think this was probably one of my most challenging builds I've done so far. And one of the longest as well. I got a bit carried away with the time. When you're playing this game, you just forget about time. You're just, enjoying building, and then before you know it, you're like, oh my god, this is I've been on this game for ages. I need to come off and have a break. But yeah, I think it has paid off. It does look good. I do like the end result. It's just trying to make everything blended in and make it look as natural as possible. The main thing is the rocks. You don't want to just copy and paste the rocks, because our brains can tell when something is just copied and pasted and the same all the way through. So you've got to make sure that you morph the rocks and change them, change the angles, put them with other rocks, and just to make it look different in every section. So yeah, we're just finishing off this bit where the guests are going to walk, and down at the bottom of here we're going to get to work on that stable. Here it is. So we're going to have a little bit of an opening at the back here where glass is going to go, and that's where the guest can look in and view the animals. Just smoothing everything there, make sure everything is level. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have it as a nice slanted roof at the top, not too what's name, there we go, that's perfect. And then just use these half-sized walls to make sure that there's no gaps. And I think they deserve a nice little, shelter. They're in the cold. I know they've got a woolly coat, or feathered coat, should I say, but I think they do deserve a little bit of a, And there you can see I put them all in just to make sure they all fit. I can imagine them all huddling together for warmth. Nice roof. And I just got a shelter there that's already made, just to try and get my own idea of how to make my own, because the buildings that are already in this game, they're built very well, and it gives you an idea how to make your own. Like, I would have never thought of putting these support beams in and stuff, but when you do put them in, it just makes your build look so much better. It makes it look like a proper building. It looks like it's a real structure. And just put some floor down there, and then have to delete the floor, because when the floor's down you can't change you can't flatten the ground. Oh, and here I'm just going to put some gates in, so at night when they've come in to go to bed, we can just close the pen and they can all stay in there just to keep warm. And then just some wooden panels down the side to make it look a little bit more like a fence, a gate. I've lit a bit of hay for a bit of warmth. They probably wouldn't leave here, would they? They'd be like, we're not leaving outside there, we're not going out in that cold, we're just going to stay inside this stable. Why go outside? But yeah, and here we're just going to put a little door in for the keepers to get inside, to clean up all the muck and everything that would be inside there. Lovely job. And outside here I'm just going to put some fencing, and a little not an outhouse, a little shed for the keepers to have all the supplies and stuff, and this is where they can, a little bit of the behind the scenes of what's going on, that the guests can't see, which I think is nice. So when the Pachyrhinosaurs have left their stable, they can go in through the back there, close the gates and clean it all, make it nice and tidy. And now we're putting in the fencing coming up. You can see a few benches and some bins there, where they can view the animals inside their shelter. And the path, a few more Douglas firs. Yeah, it's coming together very nicely. So we are approaching the end of the video now, guys. What I'll do what I normally do. We'll have a little tour, more in-depth look, as if you were a guest actually walking through the habitat. So I'll put that up tomorrow. But if you're watching this later on, when it's not actually come out the video, I'll put a link at the end of the video that you can go and see that there. And now I'm just putting in a few mountains in the background just to make it blend out well, rather than just just going into grassland. I'm going to try and block you from seeing that by putting in these big mountains and a bit of snow on the top of them. Lovely. And then just blend that in. Try and leave a little bit that's not got snow on it, so it looks a bit more like a mountain, like some of it's a bit rocky in areas. A few trees, a few more rocks and trees in the background just to blend it in. Lovely. So yeah, it's coming close to finish. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much for your request, Tomazilla. If any of you have got any other requests that you'd like to see, any habitats for a certain species, or perhaps a certain kind of theme, or any idea, please share it in the comments below. And if you like the video, please leave a like down below, and please subscribe for future videos like this. And thank you all to everyone who has already subscribed. We've just hit 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. Thank you all very much for your support, for supporting the channel, all your likes and all your comments. We really do appreciate it. So yeah, we're coming close now, guys, to the end. Just got to finish off the edges, make sure that it all blends in and looks natural. Yeah, and all I've got to do now is fill in the gaps with the rocks and everything around this section, just so you're not looking over into the greenery at the back there. Yeah, and I think what we'll do here, just before you go on your trek up the mountain, we'll give the guests a little toilet stop, just so they can go to the toilet before they set off on their journey up the mountain, because the last thing you want is getting so far and then you think, oh god, I wish I'd gone to the toilet. And we're going to block off this section here with just a nice big forest to just immerse you in this frozen landscape. So, and there's a toilet stop. So there you have it, guys. That is the end of the build. So tomorrow I'll be releasing that tour video for a more in-depth look at the enclosure. And as I said, if you're not watching this as it's come out, I'll leave a link. That link should be coming on now of the tour that you can watch. So once again, guys, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.